Okay, so we see it all the time. Organizations out there that in good times, they are scrambling to keep the people that work for them and to meet their growing demand. And in bad times, they're scrambling to make a decent profit. And in chaotic times, they're just scrambling to have a life. So, what we've found is that if you get more done and you keep the people who do it, you will be more profitable. You'll do better. In good times, bad times, chaotic times, it won't matter. So that's what we're about today. So we're going to look at the keys to getting more done, keeping the people to do it, and show you how to make that happen. Not just what are the keys, we're going to help you make that happen. So let's get to it. All right, so what is the key? Well, there's a few things about organizations that are true about all organizations, and it's at the heart of what goes on at an organization. You get this right, everything else will go better. The first thing is it's always about the people. We say that all the time, companies say it all the time, but it is definitely true. It is always about the people. Secondly, everything that gets done is part of a process. And a process always delivers what it is designed to deliver, which might be completely different than what it's intended to deliver. And processes are what they are because the people who govern them allow them to be so, which is back to the people. Well, if it's always about the people and everything that happens is a result of a process, then what really matters is the people process. And that's what we're going to talk about. The process by which people get things done, the way they communicate and how it's done. That process, if it is good and it works throughout the system, throughout the organization, that will make everything else work better. So, what exactly is a people process? Well, a people process, well, it's a process. Now, that process can be neat and designed, or it can be just put together over time. It is a process by which people, it could be a team, it could be a working group, it could be a crowd. But it is a process by which people make some sort of progress. That progress can be good and positive, or it can be bad and negative. But a people process is a process by which people make some sort of progress toward a purpose, and that purpose can be clear and noble, or it can be murky and not so good. Now, obviously, that is not the type of process you want. That is not what you want your people process to look like, and I doubt anybody's here looks like that. What do we call a really good people process? Okay, a people process is something that is actually designed. It's a designed process. You've thought about how you want your people to interact and things. It is a designed process by which teams of people make meaningful progress toward a clear and noble purpose. And when you have that, and it's spread out throughout your organization, then you have what we call an organization success system. And an organization success system, we call an OSS. That's what we'll refer to it the rest of the time. And if that is at the heart of your organization, you will do considerably better. Okay, so how does an OSS help you get more done? Now, I love looking at what I think is the greatest execution, the greatest app in the world at getting things done, and it's the mapping app on your phone. If you think about it, it gets millions of people in many, many different languages all over the world from one spot to another with great efficiency and effectiveness. And I think we can learn a lot from this. Okay, so what we start with is if you want to use that app, clicked my slide a little early there, but if you want to use that app, what do you have to tell it first? If I tell you get out your phone app and you say, hey, I want to go north, it will not give you directions. It might say, hey, do you want to go to North Street, North Dakota? It might give you something like that, but it won't just map you a route that goes north. It won't do it. Now, if you tell it you want to go to Toledo, it'll get you to Toledo, probably the city center, not exactly a great necessarily destination, But if you have a friend and they drop you a pin at a restaurant in Toledo on the front door, and you put that pin in your mapping app, it will take you right to the front door of that restaurant. So, what you need, the greatest execution app in the world, is useless without a clear destination. You need to tell it. It needs to know where you are. It needs to know where you're going. And the more exact, the better. Now, let's say you put in that destination. Your friend drops you that pin for that restaurant, and you've got a destination. What does the app do next? The app makes step-by-step plans to get you there. It tells you which way to turn. It knows what, cities you may have to go to, whatever. It gives you the step-by-step plan. Now you get in your car and you start following that plan. What does the app do next? It measures your progress. You know how far you've gone, how far you've still got to go. It measures your speed, everything. Okay? And now you're driving along, it's measuring your progress. You know how far you have to go. There's one more thing this app does, probably to the point of annoyance. It communicates like crazy, right? Well, so I think it would be fairly safe to say if we want to get more done, our organizations need to clarify where we are and where we want to go. We need to plan. We need to have those step-by-step plans. We need to measure our progress. We need to know where we're going. We need to measure how far we got to go. And we need to communicate like crazy. But even if you do all that, I and my wife Susie went to Savannah. Obviously, I used my Google Maps to get me there, but there was something I had to do to make that possible. It was a foundation. If we did not do this, we were going nowhere. I had to make the time for the trip. Now, if we don't make time in our organizations, time's just a great equalizer. And if we don't make time, the people are going to be frustrated, and we as an organization are basically going to fail. Because see, what has happened over centuries, this has been going on. We keep pushing our management duties onto leadership, right? Managing is doing something urgent that needs done to keep the manufacturing, if that's what you're doing, rolling. Okay, it's putting out fires, solving problems, and keeping supplies where they need to be. They are urgent, but they're not necessarily long-term important. Leadership is thinking and planning and leading, coming up with a vision. Well, when the same person is doing both, the urgent screams so loud it will always push the important, which is the leadership duties, away. We have to have the time, or the rest of this isn't going to matter. Just like you can't, that mapping app does you no good if you don't take time to go on vacation. And when you go on vacation, you're not putting out fires all the time. Okay? That you're setting aside the management duties of putting out fires, and you're going on a vacation to do something important. We need to do that with regularity. We don't, we're going to fail. But even at that, we've got the foundation, we've got the steps, but those steps, they are going to fall if we don't fill in this space. And what we're missing there is systematic accountability. Now, the reason I call it systematic is because you can have accountability in an organization without it being built into your system. But if you do that, one, it often turns into a buddy system. Let's face it, that's what happens. And two, when it's dependent on a person, so it is personality driven, that means that person either scares the crap out of everybody, or they're a good leader, they delegate well, and all those types of things, but they can only truly hold a relatively small number of people accountable. And then when accountability starts sliding, you get back into the buddy system. And if without accountability, nothing really happens. And just because person A is holding person B accountable, it doesn't mean person B can hold anybody below him or her accountable. Personality driven is not good. Systematic accountability, on the other hand, that spreads it out over everybody. Everybody from the top down gets held accountable, and it's not, people don't have to be good at it or bad at it because it's built into the system. There's no buddy system. Systematic accountability cuts the time to completion in half. It's phenomenally good. But that, what you're looking at right there, is the difference between a good, um, a good system and a not good system. This is an organization success system, not a people process. Okay, so now, come on, slides. So how do we do this? Well, this is how we implement a, a great organization success system. Number one, we have to make time. As we said, that's step one. So the first week we use what's called Daymaster. It is a meeting system, but is it a very effective meeting system? It easily improves your meeting effectiveness by 30% and cuts the time by 30%. Easily. Okay, that's week one. Week two, we need to clarify things. So we make the time, we get the clarity. We use a system called Focus Master to get the clarity we need. And then week three, we have to, it's time to get in the car and drive, right? This is where we plan and act. And that is done with Workmaster. And Workmaster ties back into the Daymaster system for the meeting, because the meeting is where we're going to get our communication and accountability, save time, communicate, and get the accountability, which is how we get the jobs done. Then the Focus Master provides clarity and what we're going to measure. And Workmaster, this is where we turn what we're going to measure and where we're going to go. We turn it into projects, milestones, and tasks, and all those get done because they're held accountable for them at a meeting. Okay. Sorry about that. But anyways, we're pulling this system all together here. And yes, everything is interdependent. Now, I am not saying you don't do these things. I'll guarantee you are doing most of them, and all the businesses have them. But if you don't have an actual organization success system that's planned out and working, then what happens as everybody in different departments or at different levels, they have to create their own. So the leadership group has one plan, one way of doing them, one people process. And then the manufacturing team, they have another. And maybe shipping has another. And in reality, this is what our organizations usually look like, because we haven't given people a plan. We haven't given them a process. We haven't made it clear, and they haven't learned it. So they've had to make their own. Now you can imagine how much better an operation runs with a people process that looks like this, which is an organization success system and is true across the entire system. Now, speaking of across the entire system, I want to talk a little bit about why a standard process is so superior. I want you to think about it. Southwest Airline is by far the most profitable airline in the world and has been for a long time. Southwest Airline flies a 737. That's it. No other plane. They have one set of parts, one checklist for the pilots to go over, one checklist for the mechanics to go over, one set of problems, and one set of solutions. They can be incredibly efficient because they fly the 737. That's it. Another example. I don't know if you've ever watched a good rowing team row down the river, but it is fascinating. All the rowers have their back turned to the way they're going, and they still go straight as an arrow down these rivers. Now, I want you to think about it for a second. If everyone brought their own oar and they kind of did their things their own way, just having a different length oar, it would make rowing straight, nearly impossible. But because they're in the same boat, using the same equipment, you're working on the same beat, the boat can just cruise down those rivers at amazing speeds. That is what standardization will do for you. So the question is, do you have a people process, or do you have an organization success system? Do you provide these things? Where is your organization on this? And I'm not saying this to be highly critical or anything like that. It's just you have to have a realistic assessment of what you have. So I want you to think about it. And in your packet, you will come across a assessment form so you can determine this. But I want you to think, just answer for yourself. Does your organization have a standard way to clarify exactly where you're going? A standard way to plan and manage your strategic projects, whether they come from, no matter what department they come from. A standard way to measure your progress on those projects. And a standard way to fulfill tasks, both urgent and important. And a standard way to have effective and efficient meetings. And a standard way to communicate and be accountable. And does it make time to do what's important, not just put out fires? And are you getting the results you really want? So you might want to look into taking that assessment yourself. And yes, I built the assessment over that model because I don't think you can find a better thing to model it off than that mapping app. It works fantastic. Okay. Now, before we go on, let's talk about those results. Are you getting the results you want? I'm going to share with you, since we're on a video and I can't just wait for you to ask questions. We're going to talk about it because I'm just going to give you the results we had. And I'm almost hesitant to throw these out there because they're, I can't promise this for everyone, right? If we go back a few years, and I've been working on this in theory, for at least 20 years now, but I've made a lot of mistakes in that time, and I've made a lot of mistakes just in the last 3 years. I'm focusing on the last 3 years because that's when we started to get this system much more solidified and much more like what it is now. But yeah, I made a lot of mistakes. Okay. I would love the opportunity to help somebody avoid those mistakes. But what has the difference been between the end of 2019 and where I'm pretty certain we're going to end up at the end of 2022? Well, revenue per person is going to end up being up 38% in that time frame. Net profit at Preferred Insurance is going to be up probably about 430%. Our team bonus, we give out a team bonus every July. Our last team bonus was 330% higher than it was in 2019. What about our culture? You know, we found ourselves again. For a while, we were just so busy and so torn and going in different directions. It's not that way. We found our soul again. We are back doing the things that give us fulfillment as a team. And morale, I'm having more fun at Preferred than I've had in a few years. And so is everybody else. It is definitely up. Recruiting. 4 out of the last 5 people we've hired have all been brought into the organization by current employees. Leadership. I've got 2 new partners. Partner Roger Rindler, my partner for 28 years, retired, I bring on 2 people. They are growing into their roles so well that it's the best leadership team I've ever experienced. It's amazing. And what about retention? You know, the key is to get more done and keep the people who do it, but that doesn't mean you keep everyone because using a system like this isn't for everyone. But we're doing the same amount of work with 9 people that at one time we did with 13. That's a big difference. And we're all happier. And, you know, and what about me personally? Because, it's all about me. All right. Um, I work less. I generally work 4 days a week instead of 5. And I worked a ridiculous number of hours before. And fulfilling, yeah, I'm having more fun. And I've got time to do some other things that I really want to pursue, like Arena Success Group. This year's first time in many years, me and Susie took 2 vacations. My health, you know, my average sleep time has gone from 4.7 hours a night to 6 hours. And yeah, my watch and phone verify all that. And I'm back to feeling like I make a difference in people's lives. And that's what I want to do. So therein lies the question is, I can't promise those results for everybody, but it has been a phenomenally different and improved experience for us. And I think everyone could use that type of fulfillment.